Hi everyone, sorry for missing Wednesday. We had to skip for reasons that shall remain undisclosed. Have fun guessing. Hello everyone, welcome to the Book Cafe where we review fantasy books. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and if you're a veteran, welcome back. Garth Nix is an author that exists. I've been reading him for a very long time, mostly when I run out of other things to read, because, simply put, he's not very good. For those of you who watched the first Writer's Table video on magic, you'll know that there are a couple of rules of how to make magic work. And the first is depth before breadth. Figure out the implications of a single magical thing before introducing new ones. Nix does a very bad job of that. When he introduces a particular form of magic, it tends to be used only in a single context, even though it would make sense to use it in other ones. His world building is kind of half-hearted, and the worlds don't always serve the story very well. The Seventh Tower, Keys to the Kingdom. Overall, Nix has difficulty with plot. He sets up things to go off in ways that don't make any sense, and then abandons that and makes the plot go in ways that make even less sense than that. So with that said, let's get to Sabriel. The Abhorsen series is Nix's most famous and most beloved. So I was expecting it to be better than a lot of his other stuff, at least by a little bit. So you can imagine my surprise when it turned out that the Keys to the Kingdom series surpassed this one in almost every way. The work was almost amateurish. There's a great setup where you've got these two kingdoms, one where magic doesn't exist and they refuse to acknowledge it, and another where magic is used for everything. The magic from the Old Kingdom is constantly leaking into Ancelstiere. There's a whole wall with a bunch of guards whose sole job is to keep the magic out. Now that sounds awesome, which is why Nix throws it out the window after the first chapter, and you never hear anything about the wall again. Instead, everything after that is about necromancy, and the Abhorsen whose job it is to return the dead to the grave itself. And that person is Sabriel. Despite the fact that it is literally her job, Sabriel does not do a lot of Abhorsening. She does not encounter a lot of zombies. There is very little tension over the course of the novel. The plot feels more like a travelogue with occasional monsters popping up. And the big reveal is that the villain is secretly this guy you've never heard of before, which is always bad. Turns out that he is the main reason why the Old Kingdom is in decline, which is the first time you've heard of that 3/4 of the way through the book when you've spent the entirety of it in the Old Kingdom. There's all of these character setups for things that don't happen, and then other things happen instead. It's like if Nix wrote the beginning of one book, the middle of a different one, and the end of a third, and jammed them all together without figuring out how they connected. I found the climax underwhelming. There wasn't a great deal of tension in how the villain was defeated. It's exactly how you knew he was going to be defeated, and there was never any thought that Sabriel wasn't going to make it out. The love interest hides his identity from the moment he shows up in the book, which is kind of dumb because as soon as he shows up, the reader will immediately realize that he is the Lost Prince. Overall, Sabriel feels like, for those of you who've read Aragon, you can kind of tell it was written by a 15-year-old. Sabriel is worse, but doesn't have that excuse. It feels childish, and it shouldn't. Overall, I would put Sabriel at buy it used at best. It's not a very good book. I didn't enjoy it. I actually forgot that I'd read it until just now. And overall, I find Garth Nix an incredibly forgettable author. Have you read Sabriel? Do you disagree with my opinion? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to click here on the dragon to subscribe, and here to watch more videos like this from the Book Cafe. I will see everyone on Wednesday, and until then, read good fantasy.